And we are back. It is time for Game Week 27 in the Premier League. After a great week of European football, especially for most of the English clubs, it is a return to domestic action for all involved. It is, of course, a double game week as well, but the two games on Wednesday will not be in this video. I will save them for Wednesday's Champions League video, where we'll have two Champions League games and two Premier League games for you in that one. So this will just be a video predicting the fixtures for the 10 weekend games. As always, your reminder to drop a like on this video if you are enjoying this series. Subscribe to the channel. We do predictions nearly every single day at the moment. Let's get straight into it. And we start with last week's biggest winners, which is, of course, Liverpool. They travel to Bournemouth. Now, earlier in the season, Liverpool won this game 9-0 at Anfield, which is, you know, much better than the 7-0 they got last weekend, but we won't talk about that anymore. They come against the Bournemouth side that are a little bit inconsistent at the moment. They did a hell of a lot better than I think anyone expected them to do at the Emirates last week, but I think the two goals that they scored aren't particularly goals that you'd expect Liverpool to concede. Liverpool, of course, yet to concede in their last 5 Premier League games. But Bournemouth are still fighting for their lives, and they're going to be absolutely devastated by the loss to Arsenal in the 98th minute. And of course, they're going to be looking to avenge the 9-0 defeat that they suffered earlier in the season. However, off the back of that big win over Manchester United, Liverpool have always been a momentum-based team under Jurgen Klopp, and I expect them to carry that momentum into this game. I'm going to go for 4-1. I think Bournemouth are capable of catching Liverpool out at some point, but I was sort of torn between whether or not to go for 3-0 or 4-1. But I've gone for 4-1. I've given Bournemouth a goal, and hopefully it's an early goal, which could set Liverpool back, but we shall see. On to the 3 o'clock kickoffs, and we start with what I think is probably the hardest fixture to call this week, and that is Everton against Brentford. Now, Everton have started really struggling again. They made a good start under Sean Dyche, but last few games haven't really gone their way. I didn't think they were particularly good against Nottingham Forest last time out in a 2-2 draw. And Brentford have just been playing some fantastic football all season long. Now, I'm really torn whether or not to go for a draw or for a Brentford win. But given the current state of play and how desperately Everton need points, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. But it would not surprise me one bit to see Brentford take the win in this one. I actually think the least likely scenario is an Everton win in this one. On to the next one, and it is Leeds up against Brighton. Brighton with a fantastic win last time out. Leeds just desperately struggling to find anything right now and potentially at the risk of relegation themselves. There are rumours that Rodrigo could be available for them this weekend, which could be a massive boost for them. They've been really short of goals since his injuries, but even with him back, I don't see this being anything other than a Brighton win. I'm going to go for 3-1. Again, kind of like Liverpool one. I'm and ahh'd about whether or not to give Leeds a goal, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt as well. I'm going to give Leeds a goal, but I still expect Brighton to take this one, and I'm going for 3-1. On to Leicester and Chelsea. Chelsea, of course, after that morale-boosting win in the Champions League over Borussia Dortmund. Are Chelsea back? Is this the big turnaround for Graham Potter? I'm not going to go crazy and overboard. I still think Chelsea will win this game. Leicester have not been great over their last couple of games. A 1-0 loss to Southampton where I thought they were really poor last time out. So I'm going to go for a Chelsea win, but I'm going to go for 2-1. I think it's going to be a tight affair. It wouldn't surprise me to see Leicester get something out of this, but I do expect Chelsea to get the win. From Champions League success to Champions League failure, it is Tottenham now up against Nottingham Forest. And again, Tottenham just looked absolutely woeful against AC Milan. They're going to be looking for a response. And they come up against the Nottingham Forest side that didn't do particularly well in their last game, the 2-2 draw that we've already spoken about with Everton. So I'm going to back Tottenham to get the win, but kind of like what I've gone with Tottenham games over the last few weeks, I don't see it being a particularly entertaining affair. I don't see it being a particularly high-scoring affair. So I'm just going to go for 1-0 to Spurs. And the final game on Saturday sees Crystal Palace come up against Manchester City. Bit of a bogey team for Manchester City historically, but more so at the Etihad than actually at Crystal Palace itself. So, Selhurst Park, I should say. I still think Man City get the win. I think they're on their sort of momentum building train. You've seen it so many times when it comes to the title run-in. City just start to go on these runs where they just win and win and win and win. So I expect that to be the case. I don't think it's going to be easy. Crystal Palace, of course, have Wilfried Zaha back, which is a massive boost for them. Unclear about what's going to happen with Kyle Walker after some stuff came up about him this week. So interested to see if he starts the game. So could be a situation where Rico Lewis is up against Wilfried Zaha, which probably favours Crystal Palace quite heavily. But I still expect Man City to get the job done. I'm going to go for 2-1 for them. Like I said, don't think it'll be easy, but I think they'll just about get it done. On to Sunday, and we start with Fulham up against Arsenal. Now, Arsenal, I could say, dropped points last night. They didn't drop points. They drew 2-2 with Sporting Lisbon last night, as predicted by myself, if you missed yesterday's video. And they come up against the Fulham side, which, again, we've spoken about them a lot. They are a very, very good side at home, and I've got that feeling. I don't know if it's just because I think it'll be funny if Arsenal do blow it in the title race. They do just keep seeming to eke out these results, but I do believe Fulham are more than capable of getting something from this game. And as with last night, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw once again. I think Fulham have a lot to offer offensively, and they've got a a player in Solomon that scored in his last 5 games. Mitrovic is back fit again, and I think this is a game that Arsenal can't underestimate their opposition, and we'll see what happens. They obviously struggled against Bournemouth to get the win, and they didn't get the win last night, even with a changed team. So we shall see. I'm going to go for Arsenal to drop points once again. I will inevitably be proven wrong as they keep grinding out these results, but I'm going to go for 2-2, and we will see what happens. On to my club, Manchester United, off the back of a fantastic result in the Europa League last night with a 4-1 win over Real Betis. They come up against bottom of the league Southampton, who really need something to go their way. They got a great result last time out, the 1-0 win against Leicester. They defended very well in that one, but I have to think if Manchester United produce a similar performance to what they produced last night, this should be a game that we should be winning relatively easily, and I'm going to go for 3-0 United. That might be a little bit disrespectful, especially given what happened last week and how quickly one goal for Southampton could change everything in the mentality of the Manchester United players. But I'm not backing Southampton to get the goal. I'm backing United to get the win and the clean sheet, and hopefully it will be a comfortable 3-0 win. On to West Ham and Aston Villa, and two sides that are incredibly inconsistent right now. West Ham obviously got the job done in their Europa Conference game last night against what was relatively poor opposition, with the greatest of respects. And Aston Villa, who, like I say, they keep flip-flopping. Sometimes they look like they're brilliant, but then defensively they fall apart. It's very tough to judge where this one's going to go. So I'm just going to do the bog standard football fan thing, which is go for a 2-1 home win to West Ham. And yeah, I think all 3 results are possible here. But I think the way West Ham have played, and they're just in their last couple of games, I know they lost 4-0 to Brighton, but like I say, it's a bit flip-floppy form with them. I still think they've got the quality to beat Aston Villa, given the way that they have also played in recent games. And finally, for the weekend fixtures, we have Newcastle taking on Wolves. Newcastle desperately looking to rebuild some momentum after what has been a very, very poor few weeks for them in the Premier League, and of course that EFL Cup final. With that out the way now, though, they can solely focus on making that push for either the top 4 or at the very least the European places, and they come against a Wolverhampton Wanderers side that also haven't been playing particularly great themselves recently. Another team that is really struggling to score goals, but I think with the players coming back to fitness for Newcastle, this should be a game that they'll be earmarking as a guaranteed win, and I'm going to back them to do that and go for a 2-0 win. And that is going to be it for today's video. As always, let me know down in the comments your thoughts on my predictions, as well as your thoughts and your predictions for this weekend's games. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with my fantasy football video for Game Week 27.